Good evening and welcome to the February 5th, 2024 Common Council City Connersville. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilwoman Phillips.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody stand and take your invocation. Pastor.
We thank each one of you for serving our community. We appreciate you so much. The scripture I'd like to share with you tonight is found in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 7. For every promise that God gives us, there's a condition. I'm going to read the condition first. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And here's the promise. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. Let's pray. Father, tonight I just lift up our mayor and the council members as they meet tonight's agenda. We thank you, God, for the wisdom that you depart in them to do the job at hand. We thank you for their service. We thank you, Lord, for your protective hand upon them and their families as they're serving our community. Help each one here to understand that we're never alone because you're with us. You're Emmanuel, and we just thank you for all that you do for us, both seen and unseen, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. Please make sure your cell phone ringers are off, if you don't mind, please. We will begin with roll call.
Councilwoman Phillips.
Present.
Councilman Robb.
Present.
Councilman Gray.
Present.
Councilman Collins.
Present.
Councilwoman McQueen.
Present.
Councilwoman Barrett.
Present.
Councilman Williams Jr.
Present. Okay, we have the minutes from the January 2nd meeting. We have a January 16th meeting that was canceled due to lack of quorum. That's because there was a newly elected officials training in Indianapolis. We also got an email sent to everyone. We're applying for the community crossings grant. We gave you a list of streets. Not every street in there is going to be on that list, but we had to give them a place to start. And we actually pulled about half of them out. And then the January 16th special session minutes to meet the Okra requirement. The motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. By the way, I did forget to do one thing. On the email sent to approve applying for the community crossings grant, that was a unanimous vote. I was supposed to read the vote, so that was all unanimous. Okay, move on down to new business. We have Adam here. He's going to do a budget overview. Adam?
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to say hi for a second. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna stop my video just to save some Wi-Fi here. All right, I'm sharing my screen. My understanding is you all have a copy, a printout of this, and hopefully your packets. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Bill.
Okay, very good. So I just want to touch on a few things this evening, and then I really want to just open it up for any questions as we the next couple council meetings as part of just good public education over the budget process. We want to make sure to educate public, department heads. We want to be very transparent in the city's budget, and this presentation and subsequent presentations intended to provide more transparency around the city's budget. So what we've prepared is over the next couple of public meetings, regularly scheduled meetings, we'll be looking at various different components of the city of Connersville's budget. This is all building towards the start and the initiation of the 2025 budget session, which will start in early May as far as from a planning perspective. So tonight we're focusing primarily on how the city makes money and the various different revenue sources that the city currently has at its disposal, as well as a few opportunities for the city going forward to increase revenues. The second meeting that we do, the next meeting, will be looking at various different city expenses, long-term obligations, and then the third session, we'll be looking at long-term plans for the city, looking at a multi-year forecast and presenting some options and trying to help facilitate council goals and community needs looking forward more than a one-year period of time. So we're looking at really key projects and key initiatives on behalf of the city and broader community between the budget years 2025, 2026, and 2027. So as far as revenue sources, when we look at the overall city, this is not looking at utilities, this is primarily looking just at the governmental activities for the city. As you can see, almost half of every dollar of revenue comes from property tax. The second largest revenue source is income tax, that's specifically county optional income tax. And then the third would be EMS fees and reimbursements. And if you look through that, you can see that really the top three revenue sources equate to over 81% of all revenues. So from a 80-20 principle, really property tax, income tax, and EMS fees are the majority of the revenues. Looking more specifically at the number one revenue source, property tax, it has, while it's a major revenue source, it has the most limits. It has actually two different forms of limitation. One is the well-known property tax cap legislation that was introduced around 2008 and institutes the 1%, 2%, and 3% caps of gross assessed value to limit the amount of actual real estate property tax that any given taxpayer pays. So that acts as an actual per property restriction. The second, though, which is less known, is that at the community level, the overall amount of levy, the overall amount that the cumulative tax dollars can increase is also subject to a limit. So not only is there a limit at the property level, there's a limit to how much the aggregate can even grow at the community level in the form of levy caps. So in real sense, there's about a maximum 4% property tax revenue growth per year. So when you think about years like 2023, when inflation hit over 9%, that creates a challenge. How do you cover employee wages and utility expenses of just the government if they're growing at 9% per year, but your number one revenue source is by law capped at 4%? That creates a real financial sustainability challenge. Whereas when we look at local income tax, which is the number two revenue source for the city, it grew 2 times faster than property tax between 2023 and 2024. It grew at almost 9%. It does also have a cap, but it's significantly higher than what it's currently at. It's the maximum cap that local income tax rate can be in the state of Indiana is 3.75%. The Fayette County is currently under that at 2.37. There's no current public safety PSAP or edit LOIT currently imposed. So that's an option. That's an option that the county, the city could look at in the future to generate additional funds from that revenue source. So the takeaways here would be the top three are about 80%. So the majority of the revenues come from property tax, local income tax, and EMS fees. From a long-term sustainability perspective and just fiscal health, local income tax is definitely an income tax source that is very important to the city, both current and long-term. It's growing faster, it's uncapped, it's much more of a dynamic source, and in a lot of communities, it already is the number one revenue source. So it's already surpassed property tax in a world where there's abated property taxes, there's caps, etc. And then long-term, without any really changes, any new revenues that have been identified either at the state level or at the local level, really the long-term financial planning forecast is about 3 to 5% is what you could sort of expect from this as far as additional revenue growth per year, unless something new is added or changed. So we talked about the tax caps a moment ago, but I just wanted to provide you all an example of this. I won't belabor this, but for those of you that are interested, I put the map in the table to the left. What's the most interesting here is if you notice the first row, those are all the same assessed valuation. So, we have one that might be an owner-occupied house, we have one that might be a rental property, and one that might be a retail store. But it's the same area, same house, same assessed value. The taxes are 3 times different between an owner-occupied versus, a retail establishment or a piece of farmland or a rental property. And so the taxes are considerably different. The tax caps are considerably different. So in the city of Connersville, this largely goes for countywide as well, there's a significant amount of property tax caps that your residents are already benefiting from, to the tune of as low as 47% and as high as 65%. So in real terms, tax caps have greatly reduced the amount of real estate actually paid in to the city and Fayette County schools, et cetera. In most cases, on average, properties are about 50% over levy. So in other words, there's basically a 50% circuit breaker already being applied on most properties. So what do you do with that, right? So circuit breakers are here to stay. They're not going to be eased without new growth. And to make that point clear, the different community cities and towns that we have worked with, there's this idea that we want to just wait it out. They'll ease, and unfortunately, that's not going to happen automatically. It's going to take new growth. Essentially, you're going to have a broader tax base in order to have your levy go out to new taxpayers. Essentially, you'll have to have new growth in order to spread that out to a point where every property owner is paying less or being charged less. And to do that, we essentially need to make sure the city is on a long-term trajectory to essentially increase its certified net assessed value by about a factor of 2 over the long term. A couple other factors that may help in the short term as we're thinking about a 3 to 5 year forecast. The city has seen a lot of recent assessed value growth, which has really helped with the tax rate, has helped put some downward pressure on circuit breakers, a continuation of attracting a younger population, attracting higher 3% capped assessed value projects, all end use of funds above the maximum levy, like the CECD fund. All are strategies that the city can use to sort of navigate and continue to provide services through that period of time. So we talked about various different growth. You can see here the red line on the table is the city's growth trajectory, and that's a very positive trend to see that new growth coming into the community. What that does is in an immediate dollar for dollar sense, you'll see that the actual amount of tax rate then applied to every property is actually going down. So that new growth is creating new resources that otherwise don't have to be burdened by previous taxpayers. So as the assessed value continues on that, we do see further decline in the amount of per property amounts being billed. And since 2021, the tax rates continued to actually fall. It's down about 7% since 2021. So from the city's perspective, the actual amount per property being billed is actually lower over the last couple years. We talked about that. Okay, well, how would you increase revenue going forward? Well, there's a couple options. One, we continue to pursue the maximum levy adjustment, and that's entitled by the state. It's capped at 4% per year, so the city can continue to choose to pursue that each year. And as long as that number is below the growth of AB, the tax rate applied for each property will go down. The other item that can be done is the city still has the option to maximize rate base or above the maximum levy fund. The only one that really here is still an option is the cumulative capital development fund. I personally think this is an opportunity for the city to continue to create some new general revenues that could be budgeted for council priorities. The sidewalk fund a couple of years ago is an example of this. There's about $60,000 to $70,000 a year worth of additional project and budget capacity that is currently right now being lost to that rate being below the max. So that's a decision the council can make no later than May to pursue that for 2025, and happy to discuss more about that. The big thing we wanted to talk about tonight is this: pursue changes to the local income tax rate or distribution, or both for that matter. So as far as thinking about actually changing either the current distribution of local income tax dollars that are coming in and or raising the local income tax rate to create more dollars to pass through to the units, all are opportunities to drive additional resources into the community. And then lastly, when we think about local income tax, these are the current pay 24 values. So you can see there's about $12 million of local income tax currently. You can see how the tax rate is broken down. A lot of the focus is on these, what's called the certified shares, of which the city and county basically split that, and then the rest of the units have a smaller portion. What was interesting to me though is when you look at certified shares, property tax relief, jail lit, and special purpose, you can see that about 78% of the total local income tax right now is currently going to Fayette County and ultimately staying at Fayette County for those various ones. Now within the certified shares, that is actively getting split, and Connersville City is getting about just shy of $2.4 million in benefit this year in that. But in round terms, about 78% of the total local income tax that's produced within Fayette County is staying and getting utilized by Fayette County. So from a city of Connersville's perspective, looking at options to talk to the county to potentially change how that's distributed, and or potentially looking at a public safety LOIT, which would be an additional 25 points or so, could be additional ways to generate dollars for the city. As far as a procedural standpoint, that it does require county council support. There is a home rule component to that, and from a budget process perspective, it has to be really finalized and certified by early October, and then ultimately would be effective as early as January incomes and withholdings of 2025. Not going to diminish the conversations in the process there. I know that's a big change, but as far as major revenue source opportunities, local income tax, as we saw, is the number 2 revenue source. It's very meaningful to the city and is meaningful to the county, I'm sure. So that, along with the Community Capital Development Fund, which is wouldn't produce nearly as much as local income tax. It's in the neighborhood of about $60,000 to $70,000 additionally for next year, but that would be a 100% local control option that the city council could pursue. So with that, I'll end it there. I'm happy to open any questions and talk through that more in specifics. Otherwise, at the next meeting, for those of you that found this helpful, we're going to go into expenses and obligations. And if this series is beneficial, happy to take any comments or questions or preferences for future items that you would like to have us cover. I appreciate everybody listening through that and hope that that was educational in some respects.
Anybody from council have any questions for Adam? What we're doing is just a budget overview. We looked at budget expenses, now we're looking at income, so everyone has an idea of what we're trying to get accomplished here, because it's hard to understand how to budget unless you understand where the money's coming from, how it's coming in. Some money can get used here, some of it can't get used here. But wanted Adam just really kind of look at this to bring it up, because there's several things there, and our biggest issue is, we got 3 issues that we're working on, but I'll just talk about one for now, and that's our people and our pay. And that is our, one issue that Adam and I talk regularly about is, we need more people, we're understaffed, and we're underpaid through our donut counties, and we're losing them. We're becoming a training ground, there's no question about it. So when you look at your general fund, our total expenses for employee obligation was it, give me that exact number, Adam, was it 78%?
78.
Yeah, we were 78% of our general fund goes towards employees. That's 22% for everything else, which is not much. When you look at, we went for, Dale, you can probably answer this, more than 12 years without any pay increases. Now we're 12 years behind the 8 ball already. And so we are behind. It's going to take a lot of ground to cover that. I mean, it's not a small amount, it's a large amount. So we're looking, how do we get competitive? Because we're going to keep losing, it's just going to continue. They're actively pursuing police officers, fire, and EMS like crazy right now. I just saw in the fire department advertise, I'm not looking for new hires, they're trying to steal transfers because it's so difficult to get people in that field now. And police is probably the most aggressive right now. They're really going to police. So we got to find ways to really get our pay up so we can keep them here. We've been very creative with different models. We brainstorm regularly with everyone. How can we do things to make things better? And really what's coming down to is our pay is significantly less. It's going to take, it's not easy to catch up for, how long was it? It was more than 12 years. Was it 13 years?
It was right at 12.
I think that, yeah, every department, not just special emergency departments, but every department went for 12 years with no pay increases whatsoever. Now longevity, yeah, you're going to get a longevity every year. But that makes it harder to where we're at now. So we focused on, the very first, right out of the get-go was pay. We wanted raises every single year for our people. And we've been doing that, but it hasn't been enough to catch up, and actually with inflation and everything, we're now really behind. So we're just looking at different options. So I told Adam, I said, educate them on the options. That's what we want to do, so we can get a direction going forward. So as we plan the next year's budget, we've got to start a lot of these initiatives now if that's the direction we want to go. So that's why we just bring this up to everyone's attention so you can see the problem at hand, what we have, and any potential solutions to that. So he's given us a couple solutions, and we brainstorm regularly, what can we do? I've been to State House quite a bit, talking with legislators, and I don't know the direction that's going to go, but we've been trying every angle we can. And right now we're just kind of, I don't want to say at a loss, but it's, right now we're fine. If you look into the future and do some forecasting of the future, if we continue the path we're going, it's not going to be a pretty ending for us. So we've got to be very creative on how we do this. So this is why I want to give you the education side. You can see the income stream side. You got questions, ideas, I'm all ears. But we really need a direction to move forward so we can fix some of the issues we have. The other 2 areas we work on is equipment and infrastructure, which I think we're still behind on equipment, but we've done a major impact on our equipment. We still don't have all of our replacement cycles built yet, but we've made some great strides in that area. And placemaking. If you're not investing in all 3 equally, you're shooting yourself in the foot. If you invest everything in people and pay and you're not investing in placemaking, in 5 years you're going to be out of money because you're not growing your population. So we got to make investments in our people, our pay, our equipment, our infrastructure, and our placemaking to get people to want to move here and stay here. So that's the direction going forward. We talk about that quite a bit because that's the only thing I'm focused on. So, but if you have questions, input, I'd love to hear it all. So thanks, Adam. I appreciate your time.
Well,
And he's going to be doing more training too.
he did mention something in the revenue on the cum cap fund. We have to make a decision before May. We use the cum cap development fund to do the Grand Avenue infrastructure improvements, Upper Grand and Lower Grand. That was what that money was going for then. So it's flat rate now. It's been flat for a long time, but we have an opportunity to increase that, and it'd be, I don't know what kind of impact that would be, but that is also,
60,000.
I mean, 60,000 divided by everybody, it wouldn't really impact anybody very much.
Well, we had we established a sidewalk replacement fund with the cume cap, but council did not vote to reestablish the rate, is that the correct term? And we lost that money, so we never established our sidewalk replacement program, because that was the dollars we're gonna use to fund that with. So now we didn't have the dollars, but that was what we're gonna fund that with in this year's budget. Next year's a different story, so however you wanna do that. Any other questions, comments? Thanks, Adam, we appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you all very much. I hope you have a nice night. And my hope with this is that this is helpful to you all and to your constituents. So feel free, if there's anything specific you want to make sure we focus on for the expense or the long-term plan session, just get it over to us and we'll make sure to include it. Otherwise, have a nice evening, and it's good talking to you all.
Thank you, sir.
Adam.
If you guys ever have anything you want to understand from a financial perspective from Adam, he's going to be doing these every meeting. Ask your questions and he can work on finding the answers for you. He's very good. Okay, move on down to new business. I'm sorry, I'm already on new business. On item B, public hearing and joint session with county commissioners. You guys can stay there if you want, or you can come up here, it doesn't really matter. You can sit in the front row, or you gonna be Baptist and sit in the back, okay. I'm Baptist, I can say that, come on. Anyway, so we'll open up Brad was gonna join, did he not join on, John?
There he is.
I'm here.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Yes.
He's been working on this for the last year with you, I believe, about a year, so it's been a long process.
Can I jump in just a minute?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I wanted to introduce Mary Atkins. She's been working with Westhurst Engineering with us on this project for a couple of years. We probably knew about 5 years ago we needed to upgrade these construction standards. We got in a partnership with the Redevelopment Commission and the county to upgrade these standards, and tonight is the fruition of that. So Mary's going to make a presentation to you and answer questions.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Am I supposed to talk near this microphone?
You're fine, it'll pick you up.
Okay, good. Okay, great. So everyone has a handout. I've also got it on the screen. Joan's gonna get it started for me. Thank you. Okay, so just myself, Mary Atkins, Vice President of Wessler Engineering, and I'm a professional engineer and a certified professional in erosion and sediment control. 24 years of experience. I've been working out here in Connersville ever since I started my career, so I'm glad to be back tonight. I do have Justin Frazier listed on here. He was going to join on Zoom, but he couldn't tonight, but he was primarily leading most of the work on this project, so wanted to make sure you saw his name. So project background, as Brad mentioned, this was a joint project between the county and the city. The goal was to kind of update and modernize the construction standards, and we'll go into that a little bit, but the last time these were updated was in 2002, so about 20 years ago, so it was time for an update. There's a new document now that is in the form of like a book. I brought a copy of it. It can go into a binder.
We've got it right here.
Oh yeah, right here. And it's set up with specifications in the front, and then it's got these details. And if you were familiar with the old standard, it was like on a plan sheet, and all the details were on the construction plan sheet. Now they're in a booklet, which makes it easier to search, and for designers, they can kind of pick out the details they want and put them into the plans that they need to use. So there's 22 specification sections and 103 details, and it's a PDF copy that can be posted on the website, the primary update was to bring everything up to current standards and to provide more detail than what was in the previous requirement. So we looked at different material options, and then new products, and then what kind of standards you want to put in place for construction. And this is what your old standards look like. They were on like a plan sheet. You can see there were signatures, and the stamp was in 2002. So just to, if anyone remembers what those standards look like. So moving on to the new construction standards, there's several categories within the standards, and these are construction standards. So this is when a contractor is coming and they're gonna build a new project, they have to follow these standards, and everyone follows the same standards, and they're related to your utilities and your roads, so that these things that you may have to maintain over time, that everyone's building them and installing them the same way, right? So there's a general section, drinking water standards, streets, pavement, signs, erosion control, stormwater infrastructure, and sanitary sewers and lift stations. So those are the types of construction standards that we're talking about. The next page just shows you, on the left-hand side, are what the specifications look like, and this is an example of testing requirements for some of the pavement sections, right? So you can see it gives instructions on how a contractor is supposed to test the pavement when they're installing it. And then on the right is a list of stormwater structure castings. So these are the manhole lids and the inlet structures that you see that are, in the streets and things, that you're using the same type of structures so that your street department can order the same kind and replace those as they need to be replaced, right? So that's that. Another example on the next page is individual building lots. So this is erosion control for when a residential property is getting developed, the type of erosion control measures that you want to put in place, just giving contractors an example of how they should be doing that. There's another example on the right, which is for pipe installation. So this is for RCP, which is reinforced concrete pipe. When that gets put into the ground, there's bedding and backfill, and you want that pipe to be protected by the material that's going back into the trench. So just giving you an idea of what some of those standards are. The next page is cross-sections of your streets and, the width and how wide each of the different lanes are, and if there's a sidewalk, the width of that, so that there's standardization on how streets are being built in residential neighborhoods, or there's even standards for your rural areas, so out in the county as well. The next page is a standard manhole, and then there's also a standard for your hydrant. You might recognize the hydrant there, but how all the underground components need to be built for hydrant assemblies. And really that's it. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what was involved in, or what is the content of your construction standards, and here to answer any questions. Bill was a part of the process as well, and I think he's here to help answer questions if you need as well, so.
Is that it?
Any questions?
Mm-hmm.
You got to
Quite
hear
group
from your
tonight.
financial advisor and then your engineer. Very boring, right?
Well, Brad, you still here? You still on? Not sure where you got him at.
I am, yeah.
You got anything else you need to add before we open up a public hearing?
No, I just wanted to, I think Mary told it pretty well that we had, our construction standards before were just very gray. So every time we would do a review, there was so much more detail in a review because the standards didn't, have specifics. And now, as you can see, I can't remember how many pages these are, but there's a lot of detail there. And the contractors that we work with appreciate that detail. So I think this is a good thing. It'll take a little getting used to the changes, but all in all, I think it'll be helpful to all of us going forward.
Yeah, you've been, give an example. So you've done reviews for us, like on the road infrastructure up around the north end of town. How long did it take you to review all that? Because it's intense.
Yeah, so all of the new developments, like the Mets property and the new Reed Health that's going on, all those, they submit plans, and they've used some of these standards, knowing that we're going to be adopting them soon. But yes, it can take several hours for us to, go back and forth with the designer and make sure that the city's standards are being incorporated, and so that you are getting the infrastructure that you need. So
It's a long process.
it is a long process, right? So.
Bill, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, well,
Come on
another
up.
thing that this will help with is that,
Bill, come on up.
Okay.
You gotta do it the right way, Bill.
Yeah, I know. Okay. But, well, because we also have conflicts with two other items related to erosion control, sediment control, stormwater, and other development standards, which is in the zoning code and then also in the subdivision regulations. Now, what this will allow us to do is to replace several pages of information in the zoning code and the subdivision standards with references to the city and the county development standards. So that will help. Another one that's going to be beneficial is because all we had previously was just these, the sections. We didn't have any details about procedures, anything along those lines. And what this is providing is also the procedures for the review, how the procedure process works through. And that is also going to be, that's a good thing because the consistency is key. You got to treat everybody the same, and this will help with that. So as with up there with Westler having to review things, is that this will also make it easier for Westler to make sure everything is consistent from one project to the next.
Any questions for Bill?
Can I sit
Quite
down
rude.
now?
No, Bill. Yeah, you can sit. We got the commissioners here to do a joint public hearing. You got anything you want to add before we open up the public hearing?
I don't.
Dale?
I could, but I won't. There's no need for me to take up any time with this.
It's your hearing.
Well, I just like for the general public to understand why the periodic review of building standards has to take place. And Bill, you can probably explain that better than I, but as we use PECs in new construction now. But when the old regulations were written, PECs didn't exist. We have new and better building materials coming on being available now than were a number of years ago. So in order for construction standards to keep up with new technology, these things have to be renewed. And hopefully, the intent is for future construction to be more efficient, energy-wise and otherwise, and safer for the people that occupy new buildings and stuff. So this certainly isn't being done to punish anyone, it's to keep up with new building standards with technology, you know? Now, did I say that right, Bill, or not?
That's good enough.
Okay.
Yeah, because as Dale was saying, is the technology is always regularly changing and improving. And it takes a long time to also get some of these things and say new technologies implemented in the building codes. So this gets us where we should be, and I think it's also going to give us a lot of time, the city and the county, before this has to be done again. Because, then the other one you got to consider is there's always going to be changes coming down to us at the local level from state of Indiana and also the federal government. So being on top of everything where it's at now, it'll also make it easier with any future changes to integrate them within these regulations.
Yeah, I can confirm that, because when we were doing, I know the Mets property, there's a lot of gray areas where like, it'd be nice if it was just spelled out. So we had to go through and they had to submit it, you would review it, we went back and forth several times just to get the result we knew we wanted, but we had to go back and get it. If it was spelled out in their standards, it would have just been problem solved, so.
Yes. And the engineers and designers appreciate that because they know what to expect, right?
Yes.
So it may seem like a thick document, but we all know how to flip through it and find the information that we need and say, oh yeah, this is how these plans need to be designed, so.
And the fact that it's a searchable PDF is going to help everybody also.
I like that one a lot, makes it a lot easier on my end.
And I suspect that this is also running much more smoothly this time around with Reed, I assume.
Yes. Yeah, the expectations are out there, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will go ahead and close this section down. I will open up a public hearing. Does anyone from the public have anything to say? I can't see if anyone's out there.
Yeah, could have been. Fine.
No one up there? Okay. Adele? Thought he was getting up to speak. Speech. Okay, I will close the public hearing. And, let's see, I'm trying to remember, did we already pass our construction centers, wait on the county? Or do we have to pass this again? Do you remember?
I don't think we've passed it.
Okay,
I think we only had it just to review.
only to review. So, we have to advertise the public, or the standards before we pass them then? Or can we go ahead and approve, perhaps do another meeting?
But we'll have to have a ordinance probably to,
2 meeting ordinance in, okay. So we'll have to create an ordinance then. I couldn't remember if we'd already done that or not, I don't remember.
I think so.
It's hard to remember everything. So we'll get that taken care of on our end, unless you guys have any more questions, any input. Okay, well, we will get that taken care of on our end, I guess you guys get to do the same, so. Or do we pass ours first and then you pass yours, is that how it goes? Or does it matter?
We will have to adopt an ordinance for the county. I'm sure you'll have to adopt one. for the city.
Right, but is that, do you do yours after ours, or do we do ours after yours, or does it matter?
I don't think that matters. To the best of my knowledge, that may be an attorney question.
Okay, since it's joint APC, I wasn't sure how that worked. Okay. We'll get it taken care of on our end then. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, item C, Rosemary is requesting permission to advertise for additional appropriation. Rosemary?
this list is a little bit longer than normal. I am not going to, we're not going to, encumber anymore, so, this is all the money that we hadn't spent in the ARP fund. So whatever we don't spend this year, I'll re-advertise next year. So if you have any questions.
Part of that is like, you can see the public safety equipment, I'm sorry, EMS equipment. We ordered those 2+ years ago, I think.
Yes.
2 years ago. They haven't come in yet, so we still haven't spent that money, so it's not encumbered, so we just gotta redo it every year. Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve permission to advertise for the additional appropriation.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll get that advertised. And Rosemary is presenting a report of outstanding checks.
Board of Works approved of voiding these out. You really don't have to take any action, it's just letting you know that we're voiding these.
Item E, I'm sorry, you might have any questions on that? That's kind of a no-brainer. Okay, item E, approval pending ordinance 3935, salary and wage, GOT. Rosemary?
We had a typo in here, we were still paying them stating 2023. We updated it, have it corrected at 2024.
The only thing we changed was the year, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. I have a motion for third and final reading.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And item F, we have approval of resolution 2024-02 transfer. Rosemary.
This is transferring, resolution 2024-02 is transferring $88.44 from Aflac Group to Aflac Insurance Fund.
Any questions? If not, entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-02.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, moving down to old business. Anyone have any old business? Miscellaneous business. Public.
Excuse me.
You're the only one here. That's why I'm looking. If not, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried.